Hi, this is Greg Kilstrom. Welcome to Season 3 of the Agile World, where we discuss customer and employee experience, organizational and workforce transformation, and how business can adapt and continually improve in an agile age. The Agile World podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To read more about the topics discussed in this show, you can go to my website at theagile.world and read my latest articles, or get a copy of my latest book, The Agile Workforce, now available on Amazon and other retailers. My name is Greg Kilstrom, and I'm the host of the Agile World podcast. Healthcare can provide some of the most rewarding as well as the most challenging implementations of customer experience initiatives. And it presents many unique scenarios that companies and other industries simply don't encounter. Today we're going to talk about the patient experience and how it is both similar and different to other types of customer experience, as well as how to be successful in creating a great patient experience. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Brian Carlson, Vice President of Patient Experience at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hi, Greg. It's great to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this topic with you. So let's get started first with the definition of patient experience. How do you and Vanderbilt define a great patient experience?
Yeah, that's a great question to start with. And I think I encourage every organization to have, especially in the healthcare space, have a definition or what their vision of a healthcare or great patient experience is. You know, we use two things. One is I think of it as the Barrel Institute definition of it's the sum of all interactions. And I think that could translate to any industry, not just healthcare. But specifically at Vanderbilt, our vision, our mission is to make healthcare personal. And our way of doing that, what we strive for is to do things like communicate effectively, respect privacy, coordination of care, personalizing care with the focus on individuals' values and needs, and serving people with kindness and respect. We call it our patient and family promise. And that really serves as our grounding platform and definition of patient experience here at Vanderbilt.
Great. And I love that personal aspect to it. I mean, I think there's so much of patient experience, customer experience, and even healthcare in general is data driven and all that. So adding that intentional personal aspect, I think that's very valuable there. What measurements are used? Like, how do you know when you've succeeded or when you're succeeding or need to improve in areas? What are kind of the metrics of success and how you go about patient experience?
Yeah, like every organization, we implement various surveys to get feedback from our patients about their experience with us. You know, vast majority of the time it's post rather than pre. Pre-visit, post-visit, post-hospitalization. So we have no shortage of data. We administer surveys that are anywhere in length of 20 to 30 questions, and we use that data to gauge both in increments of time and longitudinally over fiscal year periods just how we're doing. But we do tend to look at things like likelihood to recommend, overall rating of care. But the improvement that needs to be done goes down into the individual questions we ask. And those are things like how kind and courteous was the care team member? Did we communicate with you effectively? And then we break that down at entity levels, then down to unit levels, and use that for improvements because patient experience is local. Everybody owns the patient experience. So they need to have a view of what their patients are saying about them, not only so they can continue doing what they're doing, but also where there may be gaps in process that they can improve upon to improve the patient experience for people to come.
So let's talk about some of the differences and some of the unique challenges with healthcare. And, it certainly shares some characteristics with other industries when you're talking about more broadly the customer experience, but also has some unique ones. So what are some of these unique challenges, as well as some opportunities that healthcare provides, and gives you either the ability or might provide some challenges in providing that great patient experience?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one, healthcare is unique in the sense is I don't think people choose to want to come to the doctor or go to the hospital. So
Right.
like unlike other industries, there's choice there, but that choice is driven by a need, a very personal need of I'm not feeling well or I have a problem that I need to get taken care of. I
Yeah.
think the second thing I would say is depending on that need really drives the anxiety that person's feeling to get the care that they need. And that can range anywhere from routine care to chronic care to unfortunately, life altering, life changing trauma, things of those type. And the experience of those is very different for the person entering the healthcare system. And then how do we design experiences around that to help them navigate and get the care they need as quickly as possible to meet whatever the problem is, ultimately delivering on safe, effective outcomes. Um, the benefit we have, on the delivery side is I don't believe healthcare is a calling. So people entering the industry are wanting to serve others. They want to provide great outcomes. They want to help people get better. They want to help people feel better. Um, so, in the experience space, how can we help the care providers be the most effective and efficient at their jobs to ultimately, so they in turn can be the most effective and efficient in delivering that care to the individual that's coming to them?
So one of the dive in on one of the things that you mentioned. So this idea that patients don't choose to need to go to a hospital and things like that. So from your perspective, then I mean I can think of two scenarios. Is some people do have a choice of which hospital they may go to or something, but also people may be reluctant to go to a hospital if they had a bad experience. So, are those two like kind of big considerations? Are there other things that you're keeping in mind as well? Of because again, to your point, they're not. It's not like they're buying a new TV or buying a second pair of shoes or something like that. It's a very different use case. But are those things that I mentioned are those kind of top of mind, or are there other things that as well?
Absolutely, and I didn't mean to say there's not choice.
Yeah.
There's absolutely choice. The choice though is really what starts the need, right?
Right.
Unlike a TV, it's like, oh, I need a new TV. I'll do it. I'm not feeling well. I want to feel better. Yeah, we don't have a choice. That just
Right.
happens to us. But
Right.
once that happens, absolutely, we have choice and more choice, frankly. And that's where, as a healthcare delivery system, we need to make it as easy as possible for those who are patients of ours or those who would be patients of ours, uh, as easy as possible to access us, to get in to see us, to get to our experts who can help them get to get better. So
Yeah.
yes, when it comes to choice, who you see, are you willing to travel? Do you want to stay local? Um, if you need surgery, do you want to be close to home? Or are you willing to be if you're in a rural area in a larger city? What are those choices that you have based on whatever is afflicting you, whatever your problem may be, and that's where it gets very unique because every condition is a little different in what that delivery means and what it is. We can do some of it. We can do via telehealth, so you can stay at home. Others requires you to come into the hospital and get all sorts of tests. Other is more maintenance and monitoring. We need you to monitor yourself and have periodic visits with your care provider to make sure that the plan of care is unfolding the way it should.
Stakes are often high when decisions are being made about some of these things as well. I mean, real time decisions or near real time, some of them data driven, some of them just, a person making the best choice based on their expertise. How do you work with employees what regardless of their role, doctors, nurses, others supporting roles, how do you work with them to help them provide the best possible experience, even when they're in this fast-paced environment?
Yeah. Well, I think it first it starts with understanding them and listening and what are their goals in the care the practice they want to lead, or the environment they work in. So I think you have to have that perspective. But from there, our job is to bring the voice of the patient to them and help them understand what their patients are saying about them, and then how can we meet in the middle to make improvements. The fact is, Greg, we do a lot of great things. We do it well a vast majority of the time,
Yeah.
and that's something that we need to be very proud of. Is that the outcomes are very strong across the industry now, but there's always room for improvement, of course. So how can we help those care teams be a little more effective, be a little more efficient, um, and then once we understand that, what are they struggling with? So is it a process issue? Are they feeling burnt out? Are they having issues amongst the team that they can't communicate effectively? All of those are things that really need to be diagnosed at the local level to dictate how can we help them get better? How can we help them feel more engaged in the work they're doing? And then ultimately support the patients that are coming to see them.
Another common challenge in healthcare and just the patient experience in general is the education gap between the patients that are receiving care or learning about diagnoses and things, and then the experts providing it. I'll count myself in that uneducated patient category, and so it can often be daunting. Even though there's places like WebMD and so many things, there's still such a big gap, between the experts. How do you manage this, and how do you have more knowledgeable customers or patients in this case?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it starts with, of course, access to information, and you know, with the internet, there is no shortage of information
Right,
available to all of us if we have the question. So,
right.
to me, it's really about engaging the individual in their care, so they feel empowered about their own health. And if you feel empowered and it's important to you, your desire is going to be one to find out more information if you need it. I had a friend recently who wasn't feeling well, and they had a sore back, and they went on the internet and basically self-diagnosed themselves with a gallbladder problem. And
Oh wow.
I said, well, you should, I'm glad you could self-diagnose yourself, but you really need to go see someone to really ascertain, is that what it is? So they did, and it turns out it wasn't a gallbladder problem at all. They had shingles,
Oh
uh,
wow. Okay.
and obviously that's manageable, very uncomfortable, very painful, not an ideal experience, but they were engaged in wanting to learn what was going on with them. So they went out and sought that information, sought that research. They were doing the self-analysis of what's wrong, but ultimately they needed to go talk to the experts to help really diagnose what it was. So that education gap, it starts with engagement. You got to have an engaged patient, engaged consumer, and that engagement starts, are they having a problem? Are they feeling well or not feeling well? There are some people who feel well and they want to be engaged in their care, and they're trying to always have the optimal health. There's others who don't, and it's only when they have unforeseen outcomes that they get engaged. And then it's access to the information, access to the physicians, access to the nurses to help them connect the dots on what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And um, in the process, so there's the research done beforehand and everything like that. Within the process, when someone is having a visit and everything, are there different types of approaches based on different types of patients? I mean, there's some people, I think, just speaking from personal, I have a hard time with like needles and blood and things like that. I'll just, true confession here, but some people want to know more about it than others. Like how have you worked with different varying levels of like desire to learn? I mean, everybody should know, to a certain degree, how, what's going on with them. But are there different kind of playbooks based on how comfortable someone is with the material, let's say, or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, let me start at the individual level. Yes. I mean, we in healthcare's had this expertise for a long time.
Yeah.
Literacy levels, health literacy levels, teach back communication tactics that can help people understand reading levels. Those are all things that we look at, and have at an individual level can help someone through. What you're speaking about is at the macro level. How do
Yeah.
we bring that to the community? And I think that's still a evolving space, because there are so many different literacy levels that it really requires a relationship and a one-on-one communication, so we can understand where are you in your journey and how can we help you understand better what it is you need, because we have tools that can help you,
Yeah.
but we need to have that level of relationship and understanding, that care relationship, to be able to give them the resources so they can do it. But that goes back to that's going to require that individual to engage in that care, to go out and seek it, to go out and be involved and educate themselves with whatever's going on, and then create that relationship so they come into the care provider informed, and then develop that relationship on how best to help them understand whatever is going on with them.
So one last question before we wrap up here. Where do you see the biggest opportunities ahead for improving patient experience, and what can we expect to see in the next few years in this area?
Yeah. Well, let me start with the importance of the teams that are delivering health, the care.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, healthcare is a calling, and I am privileged and honored to work around these individuals on a daily basis. They truly are selfless. They do amazing work, and I great experience starts with the support and their ability to deliver that a great experience. So, just as an example, healthcare is a team sport, and not one individual can do it. So we've been doing more and more work of how can we build better teamwork across teams, so that they can come together, they have relationships, they respect each other, and they can communicate effectively. But they're so busy, it's hard to spend the time to do that. So I think that, one thing we're going to continue to see is how do we grow that teamwork across those teams so they can deliver that ideal care.
Yeah.
I think the second thing I would say is, uh, like I mentioned here at Vanderbilt, we are on the journey and on the path to make healthcare personal. But that's a journey. There's no endpoint to that. So what does personalization mean? And personalization in healthcare means different things to each person. That's why it's personalized. So it could be customized treatments. It could be individual ways, customized ways that we interact with them, that we bring to them education that is very personalized to whatever's going on with them. Um, but in order to do that, goes into the third space, which is really the technology and the digital. Using the data, using the experience we have, using algorithms, using AI to start to understand larger groups of populations. So how can we tailor it to them and start to personalize at that individual level?
Yeah. Do you see um, technology playing a bigger role, or just the technology getting more sophisticated that's being, because there's always going to be that very personal, literally hands-on aspect of healthcare, but do you see technology playing a bigger role, or again, just sort of the nature of its role changing?
So when I Greg, when I think technology, I'm going to break that into two buckets. The first bucket being digital and the technology we use to help people in their care. So this is things like apps, websites, monitoring tools. How easy are they to use? And I think the technology in that space is already pretty mature, but will continue to advance. And it's all about making the effort consumers, patients have to give that much easier in their care in their care journey. The other part that I think is here is and will continue to grow is the use of data. We have so much data in the healthcare space, and how can we use that data, and artificial intelligence and algorithms to help understand, um, from past experience what future outcomes may be, and help guide people down past where the data informs the care that they need, or the intervention that they need or the exercise program they should be on, what works best for them. And that's both in the clinical and non-clinical space. And I think, DNA is obviously here, using people's DNA to customize treatments. All of that is so exciting, and where we're going and where we continue to head. But that personalizes that experience. That's making healthcare personal, and that's all part of the experience that we're speaking about. So I'm very excited where we're going in that direction, and in the years to come. It's quite exciting.
Well, Brian, thanks so much for joining the show. And I just want to say, it's been a very trying year plus with the pandemic, but I think Vanderbilt has been doing some amazing work and showing some real leadership there. And, so I'm thankful for all the work that your teams are doing there. And I appreciate you taking some time to talk through these things and hopefully help others in the healthcare industry. For those listening, what's the best way for them to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, so the best way is via LinkedIn. My profile on LinkedIn would be the best way to interact. So I'm very active in that space. And I want to thank you, Greg, for hosting platforms like this to allow us to share ideas, because that's how we learn, and that's how we get better as an industry, how we get better as a society. And I also appreciate the acknowledgement. It has been a challenging year, and it continues to be challenging, as you and I speak on this podcast. So, we have bright skies ahead, but it has been a very challenging time. So I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Yeah, of course. Well, again, I'd like to thank Brian Carlson, Vice President of Patient Experience at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, for joining the show. Thanks for listening to The Agile World with Greg Kihlstrom. See you next week. Thanks again for listening to the Agile World podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can learn more and get a copy of my latest book, The Agile Workforce, from my website at theagile.world.